Hello, fellow bros. This is Gary for Two Bros Doing Shows. Unfortunately, John is not with us tonight because he is sick. And this weather, this has been crazy here in California with rain. And you know what else is crazy? The booking on Monday Night Raw. So let's get to it. First of all, I'm going to do a Raw versus Smackdown review. Seeing as this is a Wednesday, I got this out a little late. I wanted to put up a video on Tuesday and didn't get to, but I'll make it more interesting for everybody. First of all, Raw started out with a big segment with Roman Reigns coming out and down to the ring. And then you had Kevin Owens and Chris Jericho. And then you had Braun Strowman. And then you had Sami Zayn jump Braun Strowman, which was probably one of the two most interesting things that happened here. Then you had Brock Lesnar come out, pretty much suplex everyone. And then you had Sami Zayn and Brock Lesnar in a dead stare with each other. You give me that match at WrestleMania, take my money, okay? I don't want to see Oldberg versus freaking Brock Lesnar as the main match at WrestleMania. That's a mid-card match at best, okay? But Sami Zayn versus Brock Lesnar, take my money, please. After that stare down, I want to see it happen. But eventually what happened here was Brock Lesnar suplexed everybody, and then Braun Strowman walked away from Brock Lesnar. The ring gets cleared, and that was pretty much that. Next big highlight. This is pretty big. Kurt Angle is going to be an inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame. That's pretty big. I'll admit that's probably the biggest thing that happened on this show. But to be fair, and especially to Kurt Angle, who totally deserves this, he is one of the best champions. He was one of the only two people to hold the European and Intercontinental Championships at the same time. He's been multiple time WWE champion. I mean, this is a guy that, in my opinion, is definitely deserving of the Hall of Fame, but everyone was sort of expecting him to wrestle. I'm not sure if this means he can't wrestle or if this is a swerve and this is their way of creating a segue for him back into the WWE. So we'll see as far as that angle goes. But if nothing else for Kurt Angle, I'm glad that he is getting his just desserts because he did a lot of hard work, both heel and face, for the WWE. Anyway, after that, we had an absolutely terrible segment with Charlotte and Bayley. Oh my goodness. Please just clog my ears. This was awful. You sit there and you have Charlotte, who sits there and talks about being the queen, and then starts talking down more about Bayley and showing all this poetry that Bayley's written. And then Bayley comes out and starts spouting little nursery rhymes, like roses are red, roses are red, violets are blue. I'm going to end your streak. I mean, I don't even want to finish it because it was stupid. I mean, when I get to Smackdown, you'll hear what real heat is. But this is not heat. This is not making me excited for their match. this is making me think that Charlotte is a complete and utter controlling jerk, because obviously she's motivating Kevin Dunn, in creative, to book her so strongly that even, Bailey, a woman who is sitting there going toe to toe with people like Nia Jax and Asuka in NXT, is now looking like a wimp against Bailey, a woman she beat twice in NXT. I mean, this and their feuds in NXT were way better. I'm just so disappointed in how this is going, and I really expected more from the WWE, but this is not entertaining me at all. And this is another reason why Raw's is failing, is because with all the talent they have in their women's division, they cannot make use of it. They have not found an appropriate use of it. So I don't know where Raw goes from here. I mean, after the Rumble, unless you clean up your act, you're not going to see shit from WrestleMania on the Raw side of things. Now, we go to the next section. Now, I'd like my assistant to get my phone for me, please. You see, on Bring It to the Table, we supposedly were told, I might need you to press a few buttons. We were told that we got an hour's worth of cruiserweight action. Yeah, you see, this is why I don't do phones and gloves well. Hold on one moment. You see, on their little Bring It to the Table, we were told that, the extra hour is for the cruiserweights, which is their latest excuse as to why Raw is failing. Well, I timed it on here. You know what this says? This says 14 minutes and 54 seconds. Now, do you know what this means to me? You're full of shit, okay? We do not get an hour's worth of cruiserweight action on Raw. In fact, one of those matches was a friggin' disqualification because Neville ran in and attacked Rick Swann. So do not tell me we get an hour's worth of cruiserweight action. That is complete and utter bullshit. Now, next thing about Monday Night Raw. We had Gallows and Anderson versus Sheamus and Cesaro for the tag titles. This was a bearable match, probably the best one for the night. But here's the thing. I don't like what happened. Sheamus inadvertently hit a referee, knocked him out. Then another referee comes in when I believe it was Gallows had the pin. Counts 3, says Gallows and Anderson is the tag team champions. Then the other ref gets up, says, no, Sheamus hit me, it's a disqualification. Last week on Smackdown, when freaking Daniel Bryan got slapped by Maurice, they were going to call a disqualification, but then he convinced the ref to keep the match going. If you're going to do that, start doing that on one show, you need to do that on the other. Whether or not you're pushing a heel, I don't care. Stop screwing over Gallows and Anderson. They're incredible talents. You are lucky to have them, and you are making them look like jabronis. I mean, please. These guys deserve to be way higher up on the card. Like, I don't even have the fight on here between Enzo and Big Cass and Steroid Mahal because his freaking veins are sticking out of his arm. He looks like Scott Steiner now. And friggin' Rusev on here. That match was an utter joke and waste of time. I mean, Enzo and Big Cass should be doing way bigger things. That's why we need the Revival back, because there is a score to be settled between those two and Enzo and Big Cass. Why the Revival are being held back is really only because TM61 got injured. That is the only logical reason I could see them being held back at all. So, injuries suck, man. And injuries in the business, they hold other people back because they have to make their creative decisions based on the talent pool that they have. But unfortunately, I'm just tired of certain people being held back. I mean, what the hell are you doing with New Day? 3 weeks in a row, we've seen Titus O'Neil pull some kind of shenanigans with the New Day. He has had a match with every single member of the New Day. And this week, you're going to have him spanking freaking Big E? Yeah, I think Big E looked like he liked that a little bit too much. But, I mean, come on. I mean, really? I mean, this is how you're going to book the team that broke Demolition's record? Now that they don't have the titles? These guys should... I mean, after losing the titles, after having them for so long, these guys should be like, maybe we want our titles back. But that's not what they're doing with them. I mean, they went from hero to zero. Their stock basically crashed overnight. It's another bad move on their part. Then the final match, which was really a throwaway match because it ended in a disqualification, was a 3-on-3 that had been booked earlier on in the night. It was Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, and, of course, his best friend, Chris Jericho. The way it ended, it was a big fight. It led out onto the stage, and then essentially there was a lot of chair shots. They beat down Braun Strowman, but then Kevin Owens got a chair, hit Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins in the back, and then Roman Reigns gets powerbombed through the announce table. What a throwaway main event match. I mean, that's the best that you have right before Royal Rumble? I mean, you were 2 weeks away, and that's what you are giving us? And you're wondering why Raw is losing in the ratings war versus SmackDown? If this is even really a ratings war, and they're just not now just turning Raw into the garbage show. Which, okay, fine, but for 20 freaking years, Raw has been the flagship of WWE. Actually, it's more like 23, but I don't think that's really the point here. Anyway, then you go to SmackDown. The first thing was that it was a big fight between... Shane and AJ Styles, because AJ didn't want to defend his title, which is currently his. I don't know what's going to happen at the Rumble, but he didn't want to defend his title in the Elimination Chamber. Then John Cena came out. He didn't really speak too much, because shortly after he came out, you had The Miz come out, make his claim for the title, saying he's going to get his Intercontinental title back and get the world title and be the double champion. If WWE does this, I don't know if I'd be necessarily against it, but I don't know. It just depends on how he gets booked and how he looks, because he's looking like a G this year. I mean, seriously. No other people for the Elimination Chamber were announced. I think they're waiting on contracts and so on and so forth to see who they can get and what their stock is. So, more on that as it comes. But, yeah, we get that. Then we got the women's segment and this is what I mean by real heat. Natalya and Nikki Bella. Nikki Bella's calling out Natalya. And she's like, "Where are you? Come out here." You know, just like trying to call her out. Then all of a sudden you hear Natalya and she's in the stands. And she wanted to make a point. She goes to the stand that's not selling that's selling all the basically the toys and the t-shirts and things like that. And she's like, "Where's all my stuff? Where is it?" And then she takes all Bret Hart's stuff, rips it off the wall. She takes all of her stuff and John Cena's stuff, rips it off the wall, throws it in the garbage. And then all of a sudden, you see Nikki Bella just come out of nowhere, put her through the table that the stand was right next to. They're sitting there fighting, and they're rolling over into a line that was apparently formed to buy all of that stuff. And then you see all these people whip out their phones and try and get a picture or a photo of all this that's going on. And while they're beating each other up. Folks, that is heat. That is how you build momentum for a brawl and for a match. Not this garbage, roses are red, violets are blue, I'm going to bore your ass, so screw you kind of crap. Okay, I don't want to hear what a teenager would say to an adult. This is pro wrestling, and either you're going to go in one direction or you're going to go in the other, but do not bore me with this boring Bayley. This boring Bayley needs to go. Let her be free, take off the handcuffs and let her be the way she was in NXT, because this boring Bayley on Raw is just dumb. Anyway, on to the next segment from Smackdown. We had Dean Ambrose versus Orton. Now, Dean Ambrose asked for this match. And really, this was a match more so to build heat around Orton and the Wyatt family. And it wasn't so much about Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose did win clean with a roll-up. He got a 3 count out of it. So we didn't see dirty deeds and we didn't see an RKO. And so that was a bit of a disappointment. But we did see some real heat between Luke Harper and Randy Orton. I think that obviously Luke Harper's going to win because there's rumblings that Eric Rowan's ready to come back from injury, so they might reunite those three together, which is very possible. There's also rumblings that they want Orton in the Rumble, and announcing it as himself. Although they did say that the Wyatt family would be in the Rumble, which Wyatt family members are completely unknown at this point, because there is a match between Luke Harper and Randy Orton as far as who's going to stay. My assumption is that it's going to be Luke Harper. There's going to be some kind of shenanigans pulled, and that's how it's going to go. But again, how you build a heat and how you build tension is like this. Because we all knew that Dean fighting Orton wasn't the real aim here with this match. We knew that coming in, because there's been so much heat between the Wyatt family. We just wanted to know how it was going to play out. And that's how you build a decent wrestling show. And as far as everybody and their heat on Dean Ambrose, blah, blah, blah. Dean Ambrose isn't a good champion. Dean Ambrose can't bring prestige to the Intercontinental title. Blah, blah, blah. You know what? Shut up, please. Dean Ambrose had one of the best matches of the year at Battleground between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. It's probably the match that should get match of the year. Either that or Sami Zayn and Shinsuke Nakamura. But the fact of the matter is that is one of my candidates for friggin' match of the year. So don't tell me Dean Ambrose ain't got no game. Anyway, next thing that happened was Dolph Ziggler was on, quote-unquote, the King's Court. I guess some kind of 80s thing back when they were doing the all the interview things that they used to do with Piper's Pit, and et cetera, and they do now with the Cutting Edge and Talk as Jericho and all that, and so on and so forth. Anyway, Lawler is out there in the ring with Dolph Ziggler, and Dolph will not answer any questions. Every question that Jerry the King Lawler asks him, he doesn't have any answer for. And then he finally grabs the mic and says, if you keep asking me questions, or actually he says, I've got a clip to show you too, after being shown a clip of him hitting Apollo Crews and Kalisto with a chair. And he then showed a clip from 2012 with all the elbow drops he gave Jerry Lawler, which ended up giving him, in reality, a heart attack. He says, if you don't be quiet, I'm going to have to finish the job. That is how you build heat and create a villain. On real-life events, and then getting them to boo him like they did. Because, trust me, I'd be booing too if you're cheering a guy that gave someone a friggin' heart attack, for real. At the end of it, Dolph Ziggler, it looked like he gave Lawler a super kick, but it more landed in the chest area. I think he kind of did it that way because he wanted to protect Lawler. I have no quarrel with that, really. Lawler's an old guy, so no reason to, go full out on it. After that, JBL left his post at the commentary booth to check on Lawler, and, that's the way that segment ended. Then we got the women's cage match between Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. I'm going to tell you that this match was great. I liked it. There was real heat. The women took a lot of unnecessary risks. I love the cage match idea for the women more so than the Hell in the Cell. I think the Hell in the Cell might have been a bit over the top, but the steel cage match is perfect. I like it with the women. I think if women want to be daring and, grandiose about their matches, this is a great way to do it, because the way that those two performed, I think Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch was great. As far as the end of the match itself, a very important part about the end of the match was that Becky Lynch was about to get out, but then La Luchadora showed up. She eventually super kicks Becky Lynch, and then Alexa Bliss does get a pin after a DDT on her. And then after losing, she tries to fight both of them off. She gets Alexa Bliss off of her, goes towards La Luchadora, pulls off her mask to find out that it was Nikki Bella. It was Mickie James. We haven't technically seen Mickie James since, of course, NXT Canada. So Mickie James is definitely a welcomed addition to SmackDown. I think she'll be a great wrestler for that women's division. And man, just another reason why the talent on SmackDown just through and through is so much better than Raw. Now, as far as your rumors and rumblings that are going on, I wrote down some things that have been happening and that you might want to know about. First of all, Omega has not signed any kind of contract with anyone. And I don't care what people are saying on Twitter. Oh, I already know he signed a contract with New Japan. And how do you know? Did you go and talk to those people at New Japan? Because if he did, they'd be all over the internet, you dolt. So at this point, he is weighing his options. He wants to be the biggest wrestler that he can be. Why do you think Cena would be poking at the bear? Because he wants him in WWE. So why not think at least, if anything, about that as an option? I'm not saying he's going to go to WWE. If he wants to re-sign with New Japan, then re-sign with New Japan. Your work in New Japan was superior. I'd love to see a rematch with you and Okada. Probably be the greatest damn match in wrestling history. But the fact of the matter is he's going to sign where he's going to sign, folks. And he's going to sign where the money's at, most likely, after the effort he's had to give over the last year. So, don't kid yourselves. If he does sign with WWE, he's going to NXT. He's not going to be a main event guy like AJ Styles and just get thrown right onto Raw or SmackDown, because that's not going to happen. Didn't happen for Joe. Didn't happen for Shinsuke Nakamura. Hell, it didn't even happen for Bobby Roode. But think about that array of talent to work with right now. I'd do it. Anyway, about 24 hours ago, the Young Bucks accepted Matt and Jeff Hardy's little invitation for a tag team match. Now, they've been throwing out challenges to any tag team, quote-unquote, in the world. And they've been waiting for a couple of months for a response. Now, the Young Bucks are part of the Elite in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They are currently the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. So, if they do this, I mean, it would further prove my point that there is some sort of collusion, or at least communication between Ring of Honor, New Japan, and Impact Wrestling. But if they don't do this, part of what they said was they didn't care where it happened, whether it was in WWE, Ring of Honor, or Impact, and the fact that they would state WWE and things like 205 Live and NXT, it's a big deal. So I'm not sure if they're teasing us with that, or if they're just saying we accept your challenge. Because Matt Hardy also tweeted out earlier this week, actually this was over the weekend, that he had a serious decision to make because there was a fork in the road in his career, and that the hashtag 7 deities would have to help him choose. Now, I have a feeling that I need to think about where my career is going, and I'm not sure I'm going to be staying in the Impact zone, because there's been a lot of rumors that they want to go back to the WWE. They want to finish their career with WWE. This would be a great way to get them into the Hall of Fame. If I'm them, why turn down the money? Yes, they're not going to work you as hard as everyone else, because Triple H knows who can go and who can't go. But these guys deserve at least one more WrestleMania. Get one more WrestleMania. For these guys, for Kurt Angle, for all these guys that worked their ass off in the Attitude Era, one more WrestleMania. I realize that Rock can't go in the ring anymore, and I realize that Austin can't wrestle anymore. So those two are off the table. Triple H is always putting the matches, so I'm done watching him wrestle. But for some of these guys like the Hardys and guys like Kurt Angle, one more WrestleMania. Honestly, that's all for this show. So for all you bros out there, I will tell you, this top guy is out.